Hey guys, I just have to talk for a few minutes today about, well, basically about natural news. I have officially unsubscribed from natural news. I've been thinking about doing it for a while. More and more, I have seen that they don't know what they're talking about. And not only that, but I'm starting to believe that they know, that some of the things that they're saying are not so great, and that they don't care, and that they're spreading lies for whatever reason. I don't really even care. But, it's funny because I'll see a few things about raw foods, and they'll talk about how raw foods help, and then they'll go and talk about raw milk, which, I've already researched their take on that, and it's completely ridiculous. Raw milk is completely disgusting. Mike from Natural News wants to say that, everybody who's drinking conventional milk is drinking pus, but he wants to totally leave out that people who are drinking raw milk are actually drinking more pus cells than regular milk drinkers. So, it's the little things have been adding up, and I've kind of been thinking about, unsubscribing to them for a while and unliking them on Facebook as well. And definitely haven't been posting. I used to post a lot of their stuff quite often, actually. But none of that's happening anymore. And one of the articles that I'm looking at that really spurred this was China study author scientist declares low-carb diet a fraud. So he's talking about T. Colin Campbell, and who is, as most of you guys probably know, the author of the China study. And, that he's coming out and saying, that carbs are good, and that carbs are even better than, that paleo diets are even worse than the standard American diet and all this stuff. So basically the article, you can find it on their page. It just reads like, this is what, T. Colin Campbell thinks, and actually cholesterol is not toxic. It's only the carbohydrates that make it seem. And there's literally 3 tiny paragraphs under this heading. Carbohydrates are what make cholesterol seem toxic, even though it's not. And it's funny because it says, while his earlier findings from the China study may have helped some people lose weight and overcome disease, like thousands of people, yeah, and overcome disease through improved dietary habits, Dr. Campbell's misguided positions on carbohydrates demonstrates how little he actually knows about human nutrition. I think this is funny because in that own sentence, he's admitting that Dr. Campbell has healed people, that Dr. Campbell's China study has helped people to lose weight and overcome disease. I mean, you can't deny that. There's hundreds of people, thousands of people all over the world who are sitting here knocking the China study, and they're using wording from Weston A. Price, and they're saying this often repeated mantra to themselves that it's BS, and yet they don't want to sit there and give you any examples, and they don't have anything to say about the thousands of people who have reversed their heart disease with a diet like this or similar. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of books reversing heart disease. You can look at the places in this country, the clinics and whatnot who are reversing heart disease and cancer, and look at what those places are doing. Look at the number one facility that does that in the U.S. and see what program they're using. And I guarantee you it's not a paleo diet. It just doesn't even make sense. So for him to say that in the same sentence, I think is hilarious. It's like, way to go, Mike. That's a really good one right there. So, and then he has the audacity to actually claim that Dr. Campbell has little knowledge about nutrition. And this is just funny because I'm sorry, but I don't see any doctorate in front of Mike Ranger, Health Ranger. He's an author, he's writing stuff, whatever. He's not written books on the subject of nutrition. He's not done, real studies that are actually held in high regard in the medical industry. Nothing. Like, it's laughable. It's hilarious. And you can see from this stance, this is where it comes in that that he's not just, misguided. You can tell that by his words that he's really just he's like pro paleo. So he's, promoting this. So, and then, to go on, a lot of people do this with, when they believe the very few studies that are out there that say that saturated fat is not harmful. And people like that, I've seen paleo guys like this, even doctors who will just say, oh, it's just widely known now that, saturated fat doesn't cause, any problems. Like, no. If you actually go and find the real studies on, the real medical journals and scientific journals, you can see that all of the studies that say that saturated fat is good for you or okay, they're all funded by the cattle dairy industries. That's it. Look it up. Do your own research. You can't listen to these people. When you see a bunch of paleo stuff in the news and in the media is the media. It's still owned by 6 corporations at the top. I don't care who you are. Yes, there are individuals out there that are coming around and making stuff, but these people who are getting exposure, these articles that are going viral, you have to pay attention to that. Why are all these articles highlighting one little doctor, or just some random doctor? Why are they being spread far and wide? Who's spreading them? Look at the information, look at the money, and you have to look at the author affiliations of these studies. Anybody can sit there and write an article about a study and, claim, and I've seen that too, where they will take the study and make it into something that they want to say, and the study doesn't even say that. You can't just read an article about a study and say, oh yeah, this is the truth. It says Dr. Campbell proves that he has failed to keep up with modern science. This is just bogus because he's been actively researching and writing, for quite some time. And again, he says numerous recent studies, including one out of the University of Southern Florida, published in early 2013, revealed that the type of dietary advice being dispensed by people like Dr. Campbell is outdated and false. Okay, where's your link, Mike? Oh, no link? Oh, gee, I wonder why. So where are these numerous studies? Like I said, they don't want to post them because the author affiliations all say dairy councils. Numerous dairy councils around the world. So that's why you don't see links on articles such as this. That's why all you see is repeated mantras put out by Weston A. Price, put out by paleo people that are just being spread far and wide, and it really disgusts me, and that's why I had to click unlike, unsubscribe right away, honestly. And so this Fred Hatfield is saying, oh, it absolutely amazes me that medical science is just now finding this out. Like, okay, again, this is not even the people, even something which, okay, in the medical community, it's pretty widespread that saturated fat is bad. And even, the people on this side don't talk like this and make themselves look like so ridiculous. So people on the other side saying saturated fat is good want to sit there and act like, oh, everybody knows this. I can't believe you don't know this by now. Like, quit acting like it's some proven thing, because it's not. Like I said, all the studies are BS. They're bunk. It's ridiculous. So he's talking about himself. This Fred Hatfield is saying he successfully healed his body of cancer, cutting out carbs and eating only meat, vegetables, and saturated fats. The cancer was gone. Wow. Okay, where's the proof? Okay, if you're going to post something like that and say something like that, you might want to post at least a video or something to back that up, that this guy even ever had cancer, because you're just making yourself look ridiculous. This is one case. This is the smallest selective sample I've ever seen in this type of an argument, and one little person claiming to heal their cancer by eating meat. I'm sorry, but that doesn't hold up to the thousands and thousands and thousands of people who have proven, documented their reversal of not only cancer but heart disease as well in numerous different studies such as this. Not only Colin Campbell, Esselstyn, other people, they actually have proof, because they're actually like doctors and medical people, and they know how to actually write up medical journals. So before you go dissing people who are actually out there doing real medical, research, then you might want to, just check yourself, because honestly, you're going to lose readers, because if the only people who are going to listen to you are non-critical thinkers, honestly, all the people who are commenting on this article saying, oh yeah, this is right, this is good, they have never tried raw veganism. They've never tried a high carb diet except for standard American and paleo. They've been on paleo for probably 3 months and they think they know everything about ketogenics. Those people are not critical thinkers. You're going to lose all the real critical thinkers who are what you are claiming to want to bring to your site. So pretty much this is the end of the article. This is supposed to be some mind-blowing article, supposed to get people on your side, whatever. This does nothing. It talks about this Beverly Teeter, who's a lipid biochemist, supposedly American, source from cbn.com, talking about it's inflammation that starts a lesion, and then the body sends the cholesterol to cover over the wall. So, if you have information like this, again, like I've always said about Weston A. Price, that's very controversial and stands, staunchly in the face of the whole medical community, then guess what? You need to have some proof. You can't just have two guys on here talking. It's ridiculous. And then it says, oh yeah, ketogenic diets at the end. It says they're comprised mostly, proteins and fats, little carbs, and they have been shown to prevent this inflammation from ever forming and can even reverse it. Ketones, blah, 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 are a superior form of fuel, which is total BS, and aid in the healing of the brain, heart, and vital organs. So they're saying that carbs are dangerous, meat is good. Really? I mean, people who study on this can easily prove you wrong. People with common sense can easily prove you wrong. And they link themselves. Oh, ScienceNaturalNews.com. They're taking the playbook right out of Weston A. Price and not using any good links, but only using links to their own site. Who does that? If anybody's bogus and, has no idea about medical research, it's you guys. It's paleo people. It's Mike here at Natural News. And, the other sources were Daily Mail and soft.net, whatever that is. Like, really, this is the worst article I think I've ever read. And, the other thing that I want to talk about, too, is it's pretty common, actually, right now in the news for people to be talking again that fat is good. I saw an article not too long ago that I was reading and kind of researching about, and it was just, again, some random doctor that they, picked to say, what they wanted them to say. And it's really, really silly. You have to watch out for stuff that's trending like that. You just have to. And then the other thing that's trending right now, how many times do I have to say no? The other thing that is trending right now is sugar. Everybody is anti-sugar. There's all these studies going on about sugar right now. And, this article that was posted just a few days ago is talking about that sugar is worse than pot. Okay, well, everything is worse than pot. Coffee is worse than pot. But and it's saying like, oh wow, big news, alcohol is more dangerous than pot. Okay, whatever. Who cares about that? But I've noticed that in the media right now, there's a very big push against sugar. And that, of course, is to counteract. And if you think that the dairy and cattle industries aren't behind this, then you really need to do some research on how far-reaching, powerful, and really power-hungry the dairy councils are, because they're not objective. They're and they have a lot of power. So the thing is, when people are talking about sugar, first of all, and it's the same thing with carbs, they don't even differentiate between carbs. They don't even want to differentiate in the study or the article about a refined white trash carbohydrate versus a fruit carbohydrate. They just want to say it's the same thing, and they want to act like that's the only thing Colin Campbell is wanting people to eat is grains. I mean, come on. And then, they're lumping in their sugar cookies, sugary cereal, and all of it together with sugar. And they did the same thing, you know, with trans fats a while ago. And I keep on telling people, do you know that your beef has more trans fats than, you know, your McDonald's French fries and your donuts nowadays, and even vegetable oils? They're taking it all out. And so that's why the focus is not on trans fats anymore. It's on sugar. And one of the things that you have to look at is when you're talking about these sugar cookies and these you know, even sugar cereals and other ways that we're intaking our sugar that they may not have even wrote about, like ice creams and, you know, cookies, I guess that was said, cakes and donuts and things like that. There is fat in these as well. There's a lot of fat. There's more fat than probably sugar in a lot of these products. And it's, you know, there's a lot of other things that are being added to these sugar products that are not just sugar. So, you know, the fact that this poll shows that Americans now agree that sugar is more dangerous than pot, it does nothing. They're just trying to make sugar be the bad guy. And I want you guys to be objective. I don't want you to just sit here and say, oh yeah, you know, Natural News and the CBS and everybody else is saying that sugar's bad. So, you know, sugar's not really that bad. I've went from drinking stevia lemonades to this year we're doing a raw coconut sugar lemonade all year. I used to have stevia in my coffee. I don't do coffee anymore now because I'm on a high carb diet and I just don't need it at all. But, you know, for everything else, like I'll put, you know, raw coconut sugar, organic, good coconut sugar all over some rice in the morning, maybe some rice cereal or corn cereal, something like that. And I have no problems drinking a natural soda with some pure cane sugar or something like that. It's not the sugar. They're just saying that to get people off of the real truth, which is that fat is very, very bad for you. It stays in your bloodstream for days after you eat it, and it blocks the insulin and the sugar being able to get to your cells. So there's a lot that fats do. And we talk about things like diabetes, which is a precursor to cancer and heart disease and a lot of other things. You know, that's what's making us fat. It's not just the sugar in these products. It's the fat and everything else, and the chemicals and you know, like I said, everything else. So don't listen to all this BS in the news about sugar, because you need sugar. Your body, you know, your body needs sugar. What do you give a diabetic whenever they're having a low blood sugar? You give them sugar. You may not want to give them refined sugar, but there is a difference. And just like I have been talking for months and months and months, when people are talking against carbs, you have to differentiate between a GMO carb and a non-GMO carb. You have to differentiate between whole wheat and just a regular wheat or durum, you know, semolina product. You can't just lump it all together. And it's funny because people want to say, oh, well, grass-fed beef is so much better. It's just completely different than beef. And they want to make this big distinction. But then when they go talk about carbs, they don't want to make any distinction even between refined white trash carbohydrates and fruit carbs. I mean, hello, these are completely different substances. The fact that they're all lumped together just shows how much disinformation is out there, especially about nutrition. And I think it's really, you know, sad to look around and see that a lot of people who are otherwise aware, you know, people who know about things that are going on in the world, people who know about the distribution of power and the corruption in this world, and yet they don't want to apply that to their everyday life. They don't want to admit that they've been duped since birth, that their parents have taken a part in duping them by feeding them meat and telling them it's okay, that they've been doing the wrong thing and that there's a better way. Why? Because meat is addicting, okay? These foods are addicting, and there's a lot of other, you know, there's a lot of other factors. So wake up. Realize that, especially if you believe in, you know, conspiracies and things like that, if you believe that, you know, there's people out there who are, you know, abusing their power, and that people at the top have way too much power that they should, and that they're basically running the world, you know, whether it's banks or politicians or whatever you believe. I'm not trying to, say that any one, organization is evil or something like that. I'm just saying that there's a lot of power to be had in the lobbyists, in the politicians. And when you have dairy council lobbies with as much money and cattle industry, with as much money as they have, and I've seen studies, people are getting healthier and healthier, so they're eating less and less meat. We've got to do something about this. I've seen the place, where it says that, where the dairy and cattle industries need to say, okay, what are we going to do now? Here's our plan of action. We've got to make it seem more healthy. You can read it, find it for yourself, do your research. Why do you think Atkins came around? Why do you think any of this stuff continues to be promoted so widely despite, Atkins died of a heart attack. Hello, this might not be the best idea to go. Okay, we don't hear that. That's not in the news. I wonder why. Okay, if you believe that Ron Paul is, being blacklisted by, the media, if you believe that the media can do that, then why wouldn't you believe that the media is, trying to get you to eat meat when you shouldn't do that? Why would you believe everything they say in this aspect? And, talking about Monsanto, so many people are waking up to, the idea that, why is the media not talking about Monsanto? Why is the media taking Monsanto's side? What is the deal here? Hello, it's the media, okay? We have to wake up and we have to realize that as smart as you think you are, as aware you think you are, we've all been duped. This corruption, this money, power, hype issue, this corruption is so far reaching, and you can't get around it. You can't honestly sit here and logically say that the dairy industry, the cattle industries, the meat industries are not that powerful, that they couldn't, come up with and start funding Weston A. Price Foundation and paleo things to, and no, I don't have any proof of this at this time. Maybe I'll start researching it, but I don't need proof because, like I said, if you're looking at, the news and saying, gee, I wonder why they're not talking about Ron Paul, or gee, I wonder why they're not talking about Monsanto, why they're not covering these protests. I wonder why. Then you really have to be a critical thinker and look at it the same way with diet. Gee, I wonder why all these posts are coming up right now about paleo. I wonder why. I wonder why all the people in my life that I know that eat meat are overweight, pretty much. Yet, I'm just going to, not believe any vegans, even though I don't really know any of them. I'm just going to brush it off and act like it's, crazy and too hard and not safe and unhealthy and all this other stuff. That is a paradigm. If you're going to step out of one paradigm, step out of all of them. Don't let other people tell you what to do. Don't believe these lies that you've been taught. People say, vegans are unhealthy. They're all pale and skinny and frail. And you hear that as a young child or teen or a young adult, and you stick with that. Somebody maybe you respected said that, and that's just, but did you actually try going vegan? Or are you going to back that paleo diet just because one doctor said it and the news said it? Use your real life knowledge. Don't just knock stuff before you try it. I mean, I don't know one person that is not, told me that veganism is bad who's actually tried it. In person, I don't know. Any one person who's ever came to me personally, not just people on YouTube. I guess I've seen people, change their minds about, I haven't even seen people change their minds about veganism, but I've seen them change their minds about like low fat portion of it. But regardless, like I said, don't just go by what you see or what you hear. Find out for yourself. Just try it. What's it going to hurt you to go off meat for a few months, I think you'll lose weight, you'll feel great. A lot of other issues in that meat besides fat too. So a lot of hormones, natural hormones, even before they pump them full of hormones. And again, they're still putting vaccines in organic cows. They are still feeding sick, dead byproducts from other animals back to the animals, even if they're organic and grass-fed. Even if they're grass-fed, they're not getting grass all year long. The list goes on and on and on. And not only that, but they're taking the meat once it's being processed. They're taking nice cuts of meat, using pink slime to glue them back together and sell them as higher quality cuts of meat. Even organics do this in some instances. It's crazy. Not to mention all the other aspects of meat eating, which I won't even get into, but just use your own brain. Don't just say, oh, I like meat, so I'm going to say that it's healthy and, spread these lies. And, another thing is that people say, this is one thing I see about paleo a lot, is that, oh, well, I feel so much better. I lost so much weight, or even like I lost my IBS symptoms off of eating paleo. Well, that's great that paleo is helping you, and I'm glad that happened to you. But anytime you're going to take out all the processed foods, regardless of what else you're doing to your diet, or if there are no other changes, you're going to see results. Yeah, when I stopped eating white trash carbohydrates, I don't even want to say carbohydrates because it's misleading, but when I stopped eating a bunch of processed foods, actually stopped eating them pretty much at all and started eating only whole grains, I also noticed that my IBS and Candida symptoms had totally subsided. So, and just because you're, Dr. Doug Graham talks about this in his book too, 80-10-10, just because you're having less symptoms doesn't mean you're healthy. It just means that you're having less symptoms. So it may be a step in the right direction to take out processed foods, but that doesn't mean that it's healthy. Your body can have symptoms for one reason and then still have a lot of other unhealthy things going on that may not be producing symptoms yet, or whatever. But there's a lot. Our bodies are very complex machines, and we need to feed them the right way. So it's very important. And if you're going to be like a crusader, and if you're going to be helping to wake people up, and if you're going to be a critical thinker, if you're going to help people come out of their paradigms and wake up, then at least be a critical thinker yourself. That is all I have to say today. Sorry, this was such a crazy rant. I really get passionate about this because I have been on that side. I've been on the paleo side. I've gone paleo. I even used to promote paleo because I, thought that it sounded like a good idea to eat less processed foods. And that's where your symptoms are coming through, not from eating high quantities of meat, because I guarantee you that is still wreaking havoc on your body. You just don't know it yet. And it may take a little while to show, but look at the old paleo people. Do you see a lot of elderly paleo people? What do they look like? Lauren Cordain himself is overweight. Sally Fallon may not be paleo, but she's pretty close. Totally overweight. Probably almost obese at this point. Look at the long-term raw fooders. High-carb raw fooders. Look at those people. Look at Mimi Kirk, raw food, vegan. Look at, I forget their names. I don't know their names, but there's a lot of, 70-year-olds who look like they're 30 or 40, have better shapes and better activity levels. People right now, raw vegans, running around Australia right now in their 60s. Marathons every day, one a day, every single day. I'll try to find the link to that and tell you guys who these people are if you don't know. I found it through a Durian Rider video, so it was raw something I can't remember, but look it up, find it yourself, do your own research, because whenever you have this much disinformation floating around the internet and just our lives in general, you really have to go back to the people. And that is something that people like who follow Weston A. Price, they think that they're doing. They're like, oh, we're anti-Monsanto. This is like small farmers, so this is like really good. And down home, this is grassroots stuff. But actually, it's not. Those are still corporations. They're still pretty big businesses, and there's still money to be had. You need to look at people who are having real results. And that's why I love YouTube, because it's a good way to communicate with people, real people who don't have any interest, and yeah, you can look around and find some people who have lost a lot of weight on paleo, and I've asked them a lot of times, a lot of them are older videos, and I'll ask them, have you kept the weight off? You can see they're not making videos anymore, things like that. Whereas, you can go and find a lot of raw vegans high carb raw vegans who have been doing this for decades and obviously have some really good results and are still continuing to do it. So that's kind of where I'm getting my information now, is all sorts of different sources, not mainstream news or media, YouTube, reading books by doctors, not just listening to, you know, creators of some websites, or books too. People read books like these Weston A. Price type of books, Kyla Daniels, who, you know, may be a nutritionist, but is sitting there writing about stuff she doesn't know about, and oh, just because she wrote a book, it's great. No, just because they wrote a book doesn't mean anything. You take somebody like T. Colin Campbell, who is actually, like I said, held in high regard across the medical community and is awarded as well. You know, you got to use your own judgment. Everybody has to use their own judgment. And like I said, don't just get it from these websites and these articles that are having shoddy links. Even, you know, like, go to the actual, you know, demand that they at least post their links. I mean, come on, really? He posts links in all his other articles, but doesn't want to link anything good to this one. Yeah, like I said, unsubscribed. If you liked me ranting and you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and like, comment, let me know your comments. If you agree, disagree, let me know. Don't forget to eat your fruit.